So today in library, 12th graders, we will be discussing copyright guidelines. You will need to know this information as we will be completing a project over how to properly cite images found in Creative Commons websites. Today in this presentation, we will be discussing what exactly copyright law is, what constitutes fair use when it comes to copyright, how to seek permission of using copyrighted materials from original owners, publishers, and distributors, the terms of protection for copyrighted materials, if you may change the format, and the specifics of copyright when it comes to audio recordings, video recordings, and visual images. So to begin, we are going to be talking about copyright law. So copyright law is classified as the legal rights to an original work. Copyright laws set conditions for how one may copy, in either whole or part, original works into any transmittable medium. Copyright laws also have specifics to violations. The Copyright Act of 1976 outlines criminal and civil sanctions for violating copyright law. Fines for infringement can range from $750 to $30,000 depending on the violation. Infringement that is willfully intentional and able to be proven in court raises the fine to $150,000. Infringement that is willfully intentional for both private or commercial gains raises the fine to $250,000 and up to 5 years in federal prison. Now we are going to talk about fair use when it comes to copyright laws. Fair use is defined as an exception where small portions of original and copyrighted works may be used if they are cited correctly. Here are some considerations to keep in mind for fair use. The original work being used must be used for educational purposes and not for profit commercially. Commercial means to make or intend to make something for profit, in other words, to sell for money. The work is for general readership versus entertainment. The smaller amount of work, the better, as it is more likely to be considered fair use. And the use of the original work will not negatively impact sales of the original work itself. Now we are going to discuss how to seek permission from original owners, publishers, distributors of copyrighted materials and works in the public domain. So when it comes to seeking permission, works still protected under copyright can be used if requested and a fee is paid. Some exceptions to this include transcripts for the blind or experimental programs may be granted permission without having to pay a fee. So how do you seek permission? The first thing you should do is contact a publisher or distributor by searching their address on the internet. You will then send them an email, correspondence, or a letter specifically telling them what you want to use down to the page numbers of printed material. You may also mail a photocopy of what you would like to use. You may be able to negotiate the fees for reproduced copyright materials, and if you change your mind about using a copyrighted material, you must let the publisher know or the distributor know, that way you are not accidentally charged. It is very important that you keep a paper trail of all correspondence with the publisher or distributor in regards to seeking permission for use of copyrighted material. Now, some works reside in the public domain, and the public domain materials do not require permission of use as their copyright protection has run out. Public domain materials are considered royalty-free and do not require you to pay fees in order to be used. Now, images, videos, and sounds in the public domain must be properly credited when used, and you must be diligent about reading the fine print. There still may be limitations on how images, videos, and sounds may be used even though they are royalty-free. Some great public domain resources are creativecommons.org, pexels.com, kaboompix.com, Commons Wikimedia, and Flickr Commons. Now we are going to discuss the terms of protection. The Sonny Bono Copyright Term Extension Act of 1998 changed the term or duration that a copyrighted work is considered protected. Individual author copyright term is 70 years after the author's death. A work made for hire, its copyright term is 100 years from the date of creation or 75 years from the date of first publication and distribution. Works that were copyrighted prior to January 1st, 1978 have copyright terms of 28 years, These works may then be renewed for an additional 75 years of protection after the original copyright date. Now we're going to discuss changing material format. So changing the material's format is usually a violation of copyright laws and guidelines. Only the original authors hold the right to change the format in which the original work was created. Some copyright don'ts when it comes to changing format: you cannot convert analog materials to digital, you cannot convert printed materials to digital, and you cannot create audio recordings of books or printed materials. Some exceptions to this rule are that books can be audio recorded for students who are blind. Now we're going to talk about copyright surrounding audio. The use of copyrighted music is highly regulated, policed, and enforced by the music industry. When in doubt, always ask for permission from the copyright owner, distributor, or publisher. The Digital Performance Right in Sound Recordings Act of 1995 and the Digital Millennium Copyright Act of 1998 gives copyright owners rights to online performances of their recordings. Downloaded music via the internet can constitute as reproduction and distribution of musical works. It is important that you pay for and ask for permission to use from the copyright owner before downloading anything to a digital device. You need to carefully review the licensing agreements on websites that advertise music that is free of copyright. When in doubt, ask for permission from the copyright owner, distributor, or publisher. Now we are going to talk about the do's and don'ts of using audio when it comes to copyright. So permitted uses. Academic uses other than performance may use copies of up to 10% of a musical work. They must not be comprised of a section that is a performable unit, such as a section, movement, or aria. Single copies of a recording may be used for the use of an evaluation or a rehearsal. Single copies of a recording made for the use of an oral assessment or exercise. Non-permitted use means creating a compiled collection of recordings, making copies of printed scores. You must purchase or negotiate duplication rights, making an arrangement of copyrighted musical work without permission from the copyright owner, performing copyrighted musical works without permission from the copyright owner, copying music from the internet. You must pay for any music downloaded off the internet, and I wanted to give an example of a now defunct website such as LimeWire where a lot of illegal music was downloaded. You cannot do this, you must pay for it. Now we are going to talk about copyright rules in regards to videos. So you may integrate portions of videotapes, DVDs, Laserdiscs, multimedia encyclopedias, QuickTime movies, and video clips from the internet if it does not surpass 10% of or 3 minutes, whichever is less, of motion media. You must obtain the footage legally. You may not use a home video or bootleg copies. Copyrighted work must be credited or given proper attribution. When in doubt, ask for permission. Now we are going to talk about copyright in regards to visuals. So sometimes older illustrations and images in the public domain may still be a part of copyright collection. Check the copyright ownership information at www.loc.gov or www.mpa.org. Permitted use. You may use one illustration per book, periodical, or newspaper, one diagram, chart, or picture from a single source, one visual per source for visual presentations, for example, PowerPoint slides, Prezi, Google Slides, no more than 5 images by a single artist or photographer, and no more than 15 images or 10% of a collection may be used. Non-permitted use, the reproduction of copyrighted cartoon characters. All information today was referenced from these 2 sources, the Instructional Technology and Media for Learning, and the Copyright and Fair Use Guidelines for Teachers. If you have any questions about copyright use, please feel free to send me an email to nroverstreet@gmail.com.